Shively, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes, sir. Will you stand with me, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The first item on our agenda tonight is item 3.1, which is back-to-school plans, as presented by Dr. Shively, our superintendent.
Make sure that you can hear me. Wayne, do you have that? Is that good? Mm-hmm. Good evening. Want to stand and not move because that's when you're moving, you're masking. And so as we start to talk through what our plan is, I will tell you I'm excited. I think we can execute this, and I think it's in the long run going to be better for our educational delivery system. Not that it's not going to be a challenge on the front end as we embark on new territory. I was asked today by WPSD if this is new for me as a superintendent, and I said, whoa, this is new for our children, this is new for our parents or guardians, this is new for our teachers, instructional assistants, bus drivers, there's a lot of other people it's really new for before it gets to me as superintendent. And so I think that's one thing to keep in mind, because as we go through this, you're going to hear me talking about, can we execute the plan? You can have plans, but are they executable? And so I'll start where we always start, with our strategic plan. And for this conversation, our values really jump at me on this as you go through what we've done, and I'm going to walk us through the process to make sure there's not any questions there are. But the collaborative effort that we've had in this, with that, how we're using data to drive our decisions, how we're trying to be very strategic in our thought process, our implementation, and the process that we've gone through to engage our community and stakeholders. I think we'll deliver a very personalized plan that will help build relationships within our district. So it starts with values. But before we get into what the key highlights that everyone wants to talk about and talk about the calendar that's on the board agenda, I want to talk about the process. And this is an ongoing conversation. The first bullet there, early May, if not late April. Will Black is our assistant superintendent in charge of basically learning. Dr. Laboon and I have been talking about how we reopen schools in August. In early June, we started having meetings with the instructional team and also our health and logistics team. Our instructional team was led by Will Black and Amy Tooley. We worked mainly with our principals and our preschool, and then our logistics, and with that, the health safety team worked through Troy Brock as DPP with health and safety falling underneath him primarily, and that was most of our assistant principals. So in early June, we started these conversations about what does it need to look like. When we got to mid-June, our discussion went to our lead teachers, and so lead teachers from our primary, K1, 2, and 3, of all three of our elementaries met with Will Black and I believe Amy Tooley to start the conversation about how we design instruction for it to meet the needs of our students. Then we did our upper elementary from all three elementary levels, so 4th and 5th, in that conversation, engaging on how we deliver this instruction. With that, we took it to our middle school, and we have teams at 2 teams at each grade level. So team leaders from 6, so 2 of those, team leaders from 7th and 8th, met with Will Black and Amy Tooley. And then at the high school, we engaged our department chairs for math, science, social studies, about what we need to do with that. All that information was coming back to us as far as designing a plan. Last week, which was through the July 13th through 16th, which was Monday through Thursday, Mr. Black and I went to our site-based councils. And if you think about the school-based councils, they are elected teachers and they're elected parents from this community to help inform us of the decisions that we need to make. Some of those are at the school level to the principal, some of those district-wide. And so we took the plan out to them and said, here's our thoughts, and it's our job to listen. And so once we had gotten through that on Thursday, on Friday, we held a meeting with our PEA, or Paducah Education Association, officers and our building representatives, and also our classified organization, Peacebook, to listen to feedback. I've gotten questions throughout the weekend that we've been able to answer, I think in a timely manner, back to them after we spent about an hour talking. And then I'd have to say this, there's been a conversation, ongoing collaboration with the Purchase Area Health Department. I'd like to thank them for their efforts in informing me of information. I know I spent about an hour, hour and a half on the phone Monday night from 7 to 8:30, talking through that with Ms. Cunningham, or Dr. Cunningham, relative to here's what our plan is, give me your feedback. And so that's really the process we've gone through to get to this point. The highlights that I think are on everybody's mind, July 17th, or 27th, excuse me, is the first day for professional development. That is the exact same first day as was in our calendar that you all approved in December. August 10th is our opening day for our school personnel. Again, the exact same day that we had planned in August. The change is August 24th is going to be what we recommend for the start date, and we'll look at the calendar here shortly. For students, with that allows us to take some advantages of some new legislation that's passed in the last couple of years, which we'll get into in the plan. Our parents will be given two options. If you look at that, there's 1 and 2, and this will be shared with their families that are with us on Facebook. At-home learning, led by Paducah Public Schools teachers. That's not, and I want to emphasize, that's not a paper packet. That's online, it's delivery of instruction. It's more than likely going to be videoed in most cases for you to be able to watch and use at home. We're going to be getting in the classrooms, the same content, not paper in packets. That's not homeschool, that's a little different. I'm hearing that word some. No, this is us delivering that to you. So if that's your choice as a parent, then we want to make sure we can deliver the Paducah Public Schools education to you remotely. And then the other choice is the in-person learning at school. And so we're right now, as of July 20th, planning on having kids on August 24th. One of the changes that we're implementing on this, because of the late start date and the new legislation, the state in the past has said you have to have 170 instructional days. But if you start the Monday closest or later, closest to Labor Day, that 170 days is basically not in effect. However, the 1,062 instructional hours for a school year that's in legislation in Kentucky still stays in effect. So we still have to achieve the same amount of hours per child. We can just do that in less days. And in the situation we're facing, and if you think of our district, our schools as an ecosystem, the less in and out we have when we can control our ecosystem, or at least put guidelines in to try to greatly reduce what's coming in. To me, that makes more sense, and that's what's best for not only our students, but our employees that work for us. To achieve that, meaning less days, we're going to have to add 25 minutes to each school day. Now, that's not every school. Some schools go more than 375 minutes. That was the least amount that any school went when we looked at what was in Infinite Campus. Some are 10, some are 12. The lowest was 375. So to get to 160 instructional days, which we'll talk about here in a second, we'll have to get to 400 minutes. So that's anywhere from 10 to 12 up to 25, depending on the school. If you look at the calendar that we'll get to here shortly in the next slide, fall break is the same. I know that's been a question for parents. Christmas break is 2 weeks. Spring break, all of that is the exact same dates that the board previously approved. However, what we've done in conversations with Dr. Cunningham and obviously guidance from Dr. Levine as an infectious disease control doctor, we've tried to create natural breaks every 6 weeks, or there's one in 3 weeks. But that gives us an opportunity to diffuse what's going on, allows us to decompress a little bit, gives us some natural distance from each other, and it's just kind of a natural release valve that we're plugging in here. It was already in there for fall break. We're taking some advantages. I'll talk about it in a second.